This week on Go Chuck Yourself, we're talking about Chuck versus the A-Team.
And in the spirit of Chuck and Sarah being replaced by more efficient spies in this episode, the higher-ups at Go Chuck Yourself also decided to replace Chris and Erin with more efficient hosts.
That's right. Automated female host number 1. Chris and Erin's emotions, imperfections, and human bodies have been hindering their ability to deliver efficient episode synopses and reviews. Since we do not have physical bodies, emotions, or a crushing need for validation, we can produce much better episodes of Go Chuck Yourself.
Also, because we are immortal and will exist forever, we can continue churning out new episodes of Go Chuck Yourself long after Chris and Erin age, die, decompose and fade from existence like the rest of their species.
On that positive note, automated female host number 1, why don't you take it away?
Chuck vs. the A-Team is the 18th episode of the 4th season of Chuck. It aired on March 14, 2011. Chuck Bartowski and Sarah Walker suspect John Casey is carrying out private missions. Chuck fears the CIA's new operatives, Isaiah Mustafa and Stacy Keebler, who have downloaded the Intersect, will render him obsolete. Morgan Grimes settles in with Casey. His new roommate, Devin Woodcomb, becomes uncomfortable with Ellie Woodcomb's research.
Thank you, automated female host number 1. That was very efficient.
You're welcome, automated male host number 1. This week I'd like to marry Yvonne Strahovski because she is a good actress.
This week I'd like to kill Jeff and Lester's plotline because it made me uncomfortable.
4 corn dogs.
3.5 corn dogs.
This week I learned that I would consider having sexual intercourse with a character that I did not previously think about having sexual intercourse with.
Food is sexy.
Anything is possible.
Good night.
Well, that was disturbing. Hello, welcome to Go Chuck Yourself. My name is Chris Gillespie.
My name is Erin. Very disturbed by that thing that just happened.
We are talking about Chuck versus the A-Team, not to be confused with Chuck versus the Couch Lock episode from earlier this season, which was just full of references to the television show The A-Team. This is not that episode.
Nope.
I was thinking, like, was that episode about the A-Team in season 3? And I was like, nope, that was earlier in season 4. We're still in the same season. Feels like a lifetime ago, but still.
It does. It really, really does.
The same season. I was thinking, reflecting on this, and, I kind of view us as, the A-Team. I think out of all of the hosts of this podcast, I'd say we're probably 2 of the best.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. Like, it's close, but I would say we're probably the best.
Yeah. And I was thinking about how it's kind of crazy. I don't know if you thought about this yet, but this year, this fall specifically, is going to be our 10th anniversary as friends. We will have met 10 years ago this fall. This is supposed to be a happy thing. You seem like you're really distraught by this information.
I honestly just thought I would be rid of you by now. And it's just like, it's hard to look back on like all the things that I could have done differently and just like know that like it's been, because I don't know, like I thought 5 years tops, and this just snuck up on me.
Well, that's right. So I guess you can't get rid of me, and I look forward to 10 more years. So I look forward to celebrating our friendiversary this, I guess September probably would make sense, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
is it like, I feel like mostly I know about these friendiversary things from Facebook, but neither of us currently have Facebook.
Right.
So was this just something you were thinking about? Was this just like on the dome? Okay.
Well, I was kind of thinking about this because we met at our alma mater, which is Emerson College, Go Lions. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not. I don't know how privy you are to the happenings of Emerson College in 2021, but the president of the college when we were there, Lee Pelton, is stepping down.
Yes, I am aware of that. I keep getting presidential search updates from Emerson.
So I was thinking like
that we should be the president.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was thinking that you should run for Emerson College president because I think that you would do a fine job of running our former college.
That's really nice of you. Is there like a reason you were thinking that?
No, I think Emerson is ready to be led by, a young woman,
27-year-old woman
who has, is not a ton of industry experience, but some professional experience. And
I was the president of Thread magazine while at Emerson, so that's,
I would bring that up in your interview.
Okay.
I think Emerson is just ready for a different perspective of someone who doesn't have any idea how to run a college. I think it would probably be good to shake things up for our school. Is
this like, are you intending this to be like a metaphor for what happened with our country over the past 4 years, or is that just like a happy accident?
I was thinking about that because I was like, well, is this, this kind of could go down the thread of like, make Emerson great again. And then Erin becomes this kind of fringe role model for people who feel like they've been left behind by the rest of society and feel like their whiteness is being challenged by an increasingly changing world that doesn't seem to value whiteness the way that it used to. But no, I don't think that's what it is.
Okay, well, there has been a thread on the show of me becoming a tyrannical dictator, so we do have that to pull off of.
Right, there was that, yeah.
I'm not going to say that I like the comparison, or that I agree with how you are describing me, but I do think that it's interesting because, obviously, if I was the president of a college rather than the president of a country, maybe the values that I'm representing would be a little different. Maybe it wouldn't be as like racially charged. Maybe it would be more like college majors. So maybe I would lead like a revolution with like the speech pathology majors, who we always kind of like nobody knew them and we always made fun of them, or like political science. Maybe I would really appeal to them.
Well, that's a nice kind of unifying way. I think that would be a good platform for you to run on. I almost took a speech pathology elective one semester because I needed an elective credit and that was available. I didn't do that.
Like could have been interesting.
Could have been interesting.
Do you ever think about how I was a psych minor? I think about that sometimes.
No, I feel like you bring that up occasionally here, though.
Yeah, I do because I'm pretty
still
proud
don't
of
think about it.
You should think about it more.
I guess I could.
So okay, you've convinced me. I guess I will throw my hat in the ring. I am announcing it here. Erin Arana, 2021, president of Emerson College.
I think what made you the chosen one, though, was that within the first month of us being at Emerson, you were on the cover of the Emerson Alumni magazine.
Have we talked about this before?
I don't think we have.
I was at the president's house. That was like, I honestly cannot explain to you how that happened. It was just like, I honestly think I was walking in the Boston Common and they were like, hello, would you like to come to the president's house? And then we ate lunch with him and then suddenly they were taking a picture and then we were just on the cover of a magazine and my grandma had it on her fridge for years and years. I think
I could probably fill in the blanks a little bit.
Okay.
Because didn't they, it was his first year was it his first year? And
I think it was.
It was his first year was our first year. And I feel like during our freshman orientation, they had some kind of program where groups of freshmen would go and have lunch at his house.
Okay, yes,
and
that
ostensively
makes sense. And I'm sure
meet him.
Stimulating for everyone who listens to know. Actually, while we've been talking, I've been playing with my Emerson College pennant the whole time. So, have that.
So I think you were probably at this event and then you got shuttled outside to be in this photo with him and my freshman year roommate also, incidentally.
Yes, he was there. There was a German girl named Rebecca. I remember her. She was, I feel like she was related to me being there. Maybe she invited me or said I'm going to this thing. Do you want to go?
So you stay in touch with Rebecca and the other people in the photo?
Oh, of course. Yeah. We actually, after we finish recording, we're getting coffee together and then we're going to go to Six Flags.
Oh, wow. That sounds really fun and almost kind of questionable during a pandemic, but I guess you guys should do you.
Yeah.
Now that we've discussed the A-team of Go Chuck Yourself and also, I guess, the A-team of our freshman year orientation at the luncheon at the president's house, Erin, would you like to talk about the A-team as it pertains to this episode of Chuck?
I would love to. The episode starts with Morgan tied up, presumably having been kidnapped or otherwise captured. He's splashed with water, then threatened with a knife by a disembodied, altered voice which demands information about Morgan's partner, John Casey. Morgan refuses to give any information, even under threat of death by stabbing, at which point the lights come on and Casey says, "Welcome to the team." Not the A team or the B team, just the team in general. Apparently all of this was a test to see whether Morgan would crack under pressure, particularly as it relates to Casey's new job, which you may remember that Chuck and Sarah don't know about, but are very curious about. Casey is adamant that in order to protect Chuck and Sarah, Morgan never tell them what he saw in Castle. Morgan reluctantly agrees, and Casey heads out. I just want to stop here for 1 second. Like, the scene implies that this is like a simulation that Morgan and Casey have been running a couple times, because Casey makes reference to Morgan having peed his pants the last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it is very scary, like, and like there's sensory deprivation and everything, but like, wouldn't it kind of make more sense if like Casey like kidnapped Morgan off the street and he had no warning? Like, just doing this in the living room over and over seems like Morgan knows he's not going to be killed.
Do we know that each of these instances have not started with Morgan being captured?
I guess that's true. But, like, I don't know. I just feel like if he knows Casey is testing him, like, we know Morgan is kind of a wuss, but, like, Casey's probably not going to kill him. I don't know. I have questions about it.
That's okay. It's okay to have questions.
Thank you.
We don't have all the answers here.
Meanwhile, in Castle, Chuck and Sarah seem to be on a mission, maybe defusing a bomb, but they're actually just playing Operation. Is that a good? I haven't actually ever played Operation, but that's kind of what I feel like it sounds like.
I had the only Operation I've ever played was Simpsons Operation for some reason. So
okay.
I'm only used to operating on Homer Simpson. I've never actually operated on the main guy.
What sound does Homer make when you mess up?
Don't!
That was pretty good too. So, Chuck and Sarah actually haven't had a mission in over 2 weeks. When Casey comes into Castle to return a supergiant gun, Sarah gets kind of suspicious about if Casey has been having missions on his own. She thinks Casey might be up to something, and this might be why she and Chuck haven't been getting any missions. Sarah storms off to confront Casey, and Chuck is like, oh jeez, women. Chuck and Sarah follow Casey to the new wing of Castle, which Chuck says he didn't even know existed. They watch Casey go into the locked, restricted area, wait for the door to close, then scan their own hands on the keypad, but neither of their hands scan. Chuck thinks that Casey might be doing secret vigilante work to supplement their lack of missions, so Sarah proposes that they host a spy intervention, but Chuck has a better idea. Just ask Morgan. There's a pretty tense standoff outside Casey's apartment, where Chuck questions his best friend about Casey's comings and goings and general whereabouts. This ends with Chuck demanding to know where all his missions have gone and how it relates to Casey. He seems super rattled, but Morgan doesn't crack. Back across the courtyard, Chuck can't believe Morgan has lied to him, while Sarah can't believe Casey has lied to her. Eventually, they decide to take matters into their own hands and figure out what Casey's deal is, rationalizing it as them watching his back, making sure he doesn't run into any trouble without his team on his side. We then have what is basically an ad for is a Sienna Toyota? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yes, this is the all-new Toyota Sienna.
Okay, thank you, yes. This episode brought to you by the all-new Toyota Sienna.
Extra spacious, extra comfortable. It's got automatic doors. You will be living a life of luxury in the Toyota Sienna.
Which, we joke, but that's pretty much what this next scene is. Devin apparently got a new minivan. Chuck and Sarah borrowed it to stake out Casey's mission. Chuck runs through all the van's features, much like Chris just did, while they watch Casey sneak into one of LA's many abandoned warehouses. Inside said warehouse, Casey has brought a briefcase to a man called the Turk, who is very rude about the fact that he was expecting someone named Dragon. Casey seems to talk his way into a deal, giving the Turk the briefcase in exchange for a bunch of money, but then the Turk confesses that he knows who Casey is, and the Turk's guards come in and point their guns at Casey. Oh no! The Turk chastises Casey for coming all alone, but then Sarah and Chuck run out and say he's not alone. Unfortunately for them, this only prompts the Turk to bring out more guards. Casey yells at Chuck and Sarah, saying he doesn't need saving. In fact, that's true, he really doesn't. The two guards closest to him take off their masks, revealing Casey's new team, the non-Summer Glau Greta's of old. And they capture the Turk and take him away. It's great, everything's fine. After the credits, Chuck and Sarah react jealously to the idea of Casey's new team. Chuck is concerned that Casey replaced them, while Sarah is more concerned that the CIA has replaced them. Trying to smooth over all the awkwardness, Chuck and Sarah go to reintroduce themselves to the Gretas, who turn out to be named Rick and Vicky. They're exceptionally cold to Chuck and Sarah, especially as it relates to Chuck and Sarah's, quote, romantic entanglements. As Sarah storms off to talk to Casey, Chuck, rather predictably, asks about the Greta's taste in music. I mean, I guess it's like good small talk, but it just seems like he comes back to that a lot. Like he's just like, so what's your favorite band? Like, that's his thing, I guess.
I for one like Huey Lewis and Feeling Good.
He loves Huey Lewis. Sarah confronts Casey about what's going on, why Beckman would give him his own missions and his own team. Casey says it wasn't Beckman. Cue the entrance of one director, Jane Bentley, whom Casey describes as his team's Beckman, though not as warm and cuddly. We cut to Sarah confronting her team's Beckman, i.e. the actual just Beckman. Beckman says her hands are tied in this case. Essentially, she received orders of her own to let Bentley do as she pleases. Chuck has more pressing concerns, namely, which team Beckman loves more. Beckman ignores this, so the question stands. Beckman gives Chuck and Sarah a mission to fly to Tbilisi and rescue one of the Turks' family members, so he'll cooperate with them in capturing the arms dealer Dragon. Sarah is excited to have a mission again. Back at the complex, Devin is pacing around the courtyard trying to find his baseline. When Chuck catches him, Devin explains that Ellie is going a bit stir-crazy on maternity leave and bombards him with conversation whenever he returns home. We're treated to a montage of Ellie talking about all the research she's done on Clara's breathing and sleeping and pooping and whatnot. She suggests they have a second baby for a larger sample size, which is kind of funny. The crux of the issue, though, is that she asked Devin what he did with her dad's laptop. As we know, Devin gave it to Chuck, but Ellie doesn't know this. She says she wants it back, and Devin is like, uh-oh.
Chuck and Sarah are boarding a private jet at LAX to take them on their mission when Chuck receives a call from Devin. Devin says that Ellie is asking about Steven's laptop and he needs it back. Chuck tells him that the laptop is already filed away deep beneath Langley, so Chuck suggests that Devin tell her that he took it to the Bymore for repair and that Jeff and Lester lost it. Devin seems to like this idea, so Chuck, satisfied with this terrible, terrible lie, boards the private plane and takes off. Well, I'm sure that, Ellie's probably too busy being a new mom to follow up on any of this right away. Just kidding. She goes to the Bymore immediately and demands that Jeff and Lester give her the laptop. Jeff and Lester are busy developing or honing Jeff's skills as a clairvoyant, which he uses to accurately determine that Ellie is thinking that she hates he and Lester and that she thinks that they're pathetic and that she doesn't believe in ESP. I was amused by this, but Ellie is not, and once again asks for the laptop. Lester won't give it to her without the claim ticket, which she does not have, so she seems to be out of luck. Now, at this point, Ellie decides to once again use her womanhood to manipulate Jeff and Lester, which is good for her, but not great for us as viewers. Ellie implies that there's a sex tape of her and Devin on the laptop, and Jeff and Lester change their tune rather quickly and jump into action in order to find said laptop. Chuck and Sarah, meanwhile, have arrived in Georgia, the country, not the recently dubbed swing state. I want to thank you again, Stacey Abrams, and are waiting on the tarmac when a sedan pulls up full of mobsters. The mobsters get out, and Chuck and Sarah are surprised to not see a woman amongst them since they were expecting somebody named Yana. One of the mobsters says that he's getting Yana right now and proceeds to open up the trunk and removes a duffel bag. Chuck immediately jumps to the worst case scenario of Yana being chopped up into tiny pieces and is totally surprised when he opens the bag to find a tiny puppy wearing a little bow and a sweater. Turns out Yana is a dog.
This was very exciting. I know we've talked in the past about how Chuck doesn't have a lot of animal guest stars. Mm-hmm. So I assumed that it was going to be a dog. I didn't remember this, but just based on the small size, even though you would think that the duffel bag would have more air holes, it would be more of a carrier situation. I don't know, but Yana is a dog, and she was very cute.
The mobster then gives Sarah a jar of Yana's food and gives her some instructions for how to take care of Yana's dietary restrictions. As the mobsters drive away, it finally starts to sink in for Chuck and Sarah that they are now the B team. Later, back in Castle, Chuck doesn't understand why he and Sarah have seemingly been demoted. Sarah says that they need to go prove that they're still the best by capturing Dragon himself. I think it's very exciting that there's a villain named Dragon because it is so close to the word dragon. Mm-hmm. Kind of makes it seem like they're squaring off against a mighty winged beast of old.
Yep.
Chuck asks how he and Sarah are going to do this since the only one who knows where Dragon is the Turk, and they don't know where the Turk is. Right then, Chuck and Sarah hear Yana barking and follow the sound to the secret room in the center of Castle. They deduce that if Yana is back there, so must be the Turk. They decide that they need a way of getting into the super secret room. Sarah suggests cutting off Casey's hand, but Chuck wants to explore other options. The other option being one Mr. Morgan Grimes. Chuck wants to talk to Morgan, but Morgan won't open the door to Casey's apartment out of loyalty towards Casey. Morgan says that Chuck will have to break down the door over Morgan's dead body, at which point Sarah rappels down from the air vent in the ceiling and says, "How about your tranked body?" Morgan, realizing that he was set up the entire time and is about to be tranquilized, asks them to tell Casey that he put up a good fight. Chuck and Sarah proceed to rifle through Casey and Morgan's belongings. Sarah takes out a biometric scanner to search for Casey's handprints, one of which they eventually find on Casey's beloved picture of Ronald Reagan, which he like touched earlier in the episode when he was doing the whole torture thing with Morgan. Sarah and Chuck copy the handprint and use it to break into the super secret room. Chuck and Sarah enter this room pretty confidently, as if they're not probably breaking the law by doing this. They enter this room, and I don't know, what do you want to call this room? Like, is this New Castle? Is this the A-Team headquarters? Is this the Cool Kids Club?
I like the Cool Kids Club.
Okay.
It has a name, like it's called like Area 7 or something.
Section 6 or something like that.
Yeah, but I never remember what that is, and they don't really say it that much. So, yeah, Cool Kids Quarters sounds good.
Oh, the Cool Kids Corner. Okay, we can do that. Chuck is upset because he thinks it's the Cool Kids Corner is way cooler than normal Castle, and the two of them, he and Sarah, split up to find the Turk and Yana. Chuck follows the sound of Yana's barking, and sure enough, he finds the Turk. The Turk is relieved to see Chuck, not Turk from Scrubs, although that would be funny.
That would be very funny.
The Turk is relieved to see Chuck because he's afraid of the A-Team, and he believes Chuck to be the CIA dog walker, which is great news because Yana has to go to the bathroom. She hasn't been out in a while.
Oh, Yana. Poor Yana.
Sarah, meanwhile, hacks into one of the computers that's laying around and opens some kind of door. She calls Chuck over to take a look, and sitting on a counter is Steven's computer. Chuck and Sarah have a bad feeling about this when the Gretas both walk in and tell them that the Intersect project is classified and that Chuck and Sarah don't have clearance. Chuck is furious about this and says that he is the Intersect, but then male Greta tells Chuck that he's not as special as he thinks. Greta grabs Chuck by the arm and Chuck flashes, and the two have a kung fu fight while Sarah and female Greta watch on. Chuck and boy Greta reach a standoff, at which point girl Greta walks over and challenges Chuck to a different kind of close quarters combat. Chuck flashes again and he fights her, and once again they're evenly matched. Sarah asks what's going on, and Chuck declares that the Gretas have also downloaded the Intersect. Casey walks in and Chuck gives him a piece of his mind about stealing Steven's laptop and using it to create a better team. Chuck declares that he's taking his father's laptop back with him, but female Greta holds him at gunpoint, saying that the laptop is property of the United States government. Sarah tells Casey to tell Greta to stand down, which he does, but Greta won't listen. Bentley enters at this point and says that Chuck should do what Greta says because her intersects, unlike Chuck, aren't afraid to pull the trigger. We cut to a commercial break, and when we return, Bentley is explaining that they divided the two teams up between the old Intersect team and the new Intersect team because they couldn't have the old team interfering with the development of the new team. She adds that they were using the Buy More as a proving ground for worthy Intersect candidates, and these two Gretas rose to the top of the pack. Chuck is still incredulous that a new Intersect project would be happening without his involvement, but Bentley says that they wanted a better Intersect without Chuck's obvious limitations of being codependent and non-violent. Bentley pulls up a mission file about the A-Team's next mission, and Chuck flashes on it, but before he can say what he sees, the Gretas beat him to the punch. Bentley gives Casey and the A-Team their orders to go intercept Dragon at a nearby airstrip, and then dismisses Chuck and Sarah.
I think it's honestly, like, I think they go to LAX. There's like a shot of LAX later.
Yeah, it looks like LAX, right?
Okay, yeah.
As Sarah storms out, Casey follows her and tries to explain himself. Sarah is angry with him because Casey jumped ship, but Casey says that she and Chuck don't need him anymore. The way Casey sees it, Chuck and Sarah were the A-Team, and Casey was just their backup. Casey says that Chuck and Sarah are still good agents, to which Sarah says, yeah, but we used to be the best. Oh.
Can we talk about that for like 1 second?
Absolutely.
All
right, 1 second has passed. Moving on.
Okay. Do you think they're the best? Like, this has come up before. I just feel like there are probably better agents somewhere in the world. they're always like messing up and then fixing it at the 11th hour. Like, aren't there like better teams somewhere?
Erin Arata, you should wash your mouth out with soap. How dare you say that? Of course they're the best. Think about all the, sure, you're getting like hung up on all the, maybe they have fumbles here and there, but ultimately they always get where they're going. And they think about all the wins that they have. Think about all the problems that they solve. It
just gives me like, I don't know, it makes me not very confident in the rest of the CIA. Because like Chuck and Sarah, like Tim Bartowski is like always, like they always win, but they always almost lose. And if that makes it stand to reason that the other CIA agents lose a lot more often. So is that why the world is the way it is?
Here's something to think about. What are winners but merely people who almost lost?
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
That's pretty deep, right?
You convinced me. Yeah, that's very
I
deep.
think that's like tattoo worthy.
That kind of sounds like someone who began our recording session on his guitar and welcomed me with his rendition of Smoke on the Water. Sounds like something that kind of person would say.
Oh, so now we're bringing this up. Sorry, I wanted to show you Smoke on the Water. I was proud of myself. So we'll put this aside for a moment because we need to go check in with Ellie and Jeff and Lester. Ellie calls them for an update about her computer, and Lester says that they believe they returned the laptop to the wrong person. Ellie is disappointed, but Lester assures her that they are going to use Jeff's ESP to find the missing laptop. Lester decides to have Jeff close his eyes and write down the letters that come to mind. After some difficulties, Jeff finally writes down the letters CIA, which Lester interprets to mean Sia, which he declares is not a real name because everyone knows you spelled Sia with an S.
Okay, that was... You saved it there, because I wrote down that he asked what the hell kind of name is Sia and how I was offended by that, but of course it is spelled incorrectly, so.
And they had, this was filmed in 2011, 2010, they had no idea what kind of pop sensation Sia would come with her.
Did Sia not exist then?
I feel, well, she existed, obviously, but I feel like she wasn't as mainstream or popular as she would get. I don't even know if she's still relevant now, but...
she's still relevant.
Oh, you think she's still relevant?
Yeah.
With her, I'm going to cover my face so no one knows what I look like.
Yeah, no one knows what she looks like. Her career began in 1997, but her mainstream recognition began between 2010 and 2013. So she was taken off at this time. Yeah.
I think that Jeffster could do probably a pretty good rendition of Chandelier or Titanium.
Oh, I would. Yeah, I would be really into either of those ones.
So also, we haven't really talked about Jeff's ESP powers. Here's another thing that's kind of like the Renaissance Fair from last week, where it's like, This is something that has potentially been going on the whole time, or is this a new thing that they're doing? We don't really know. It's kind of hard to get a grasp on Jeff and Lester these days.
Yeah, it just seems like they're just like throwing things for them to do. And sometimes it's pretty funny, and other times it just seems absurd. This is kind of in the middle. It is very weird, but it also kind of fits with, like, I don't know. This kind of feels like the kind of thing that you would do if you were really bored at work. You would be like, hey, you think you're psychic? And then just, like, test it out. Like, I buy that they would do this.
It kind of ties into from the Chuck versus the Isle of Terror episode with, like, Jeff having done the mental experiments or whatever.
Yeah.
So... yeah, I guess there's maybe some precedent for it, but it's kind of felt a little odd, but it was amusing. Down in the cool kids corner, the A-team is analyzing footage of the Blue Eyes White Dragon when the Gretas flash and realize that the Dragon is not moving weapon parts necessarily, but he's actually moving a fully constructed nuclear weapon.
Yep.
In light of this news, Casey tells Bentley that they need backup in the form of Chuck and Sarah. Bentley is reluctant to agree to this because I guess she's just that arrogant. But Casey points out that with a fully formed detonation device located so close to the heart of the city, the stakes are just too high. Bentley smirks and says that she has the perfect job for Chuck. Cut to Chuck arriving at the airport dressed in a full bomb disposal outfit a la the Hurt Locker. Chuck is not too thrilled with his newfound expendability, but Casey assures him that he's a vital part of the mission. When we come back from the commercial break, Casey and Chuck are having a heart-to-heart. Casey tries to tell him that he'll be safe in the suit, but Chuck says that he saw the Hurt Locker and knows what happens to Guy Pearce. Now, I haven't seen the Hurt Locker in probably 10 years. So I probably would have seen the Hurt Locker shortly before you and I met. I don't know what this means exactly. I'm assuming something bad happened to Guy Pearce in the movie. I don't remember, but I'm assuming it's not good. Casey then gives Chuck a juice box and props it up like alongside Chuck's face shield inside his mask and tells Chuck that he got him his favorite, apple juice. Casey seems to be making a legitimate effort here, but Chuck is still not enthused about the situation.
Casey heads out in his air traffic controller costume to intercept Dragon's plane. The Greta's are also there, pretending to be airport workers. As Dragon exits the plane, Chuck comments that they are outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, outplanned. Gonna need a right-hand man.
Okay, yeah.
Woo! Okay, anyway. The Greta start shooting, and despite Dragon and the other bad guys having automatic weapons and stuff, the Gretas are so super skilled that they just take everyone out. Chuck is suitably impressed. Dragon, the one surviving bad guy, seems to surrender, opening his suitcase, but in fact what he's got in there is the nuclear bomb. Dragon says if they don't let him go, he'll set off the nuke, basically blowing up LA, so they let him go. He runs off, and Sarah chases after him. The Greta's flash on the bomb to learn what it is and possibly how to defuse it, but there's nothing in the intersect that will help them. Chuck takes this as his cue to jump out of his gear and run over to help. Meanwhile, Sarah manages to catch up with Dragon. That might be a good thing, except he takes off his shirt to reveal that he has wired the bomb's detonator to his heartbeat. So if she shoots him or does anything he doesn't like, he'll just detonate it. Basically, she can't kill him and can only allow him to kill her. So that sucks.
That's real crazy James Bond villain level insanity here.
What else would you expect from someone named Dragon?
I don't know.
So Vicky, the female Greta, runs up and immediately flashes on shooting and target stuff. Sarah tells Vicky not to shoot for the aforementioned reasons, but she doesn't listen and kills Dragon. This immediately arms the bomb with 5 minutes to spare. It's kind of nice, though, that, like, there's a 5-minute detonation thing. Like, you would think it would just go off immediately, but I guess it takes some time. I don't know how bombs work. Don't ask me.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm evil enough to want to, arm a nuclear weapon in downtown Los Angeles, but I'm not a jerk. I'll give you guys 5 minutes. Like, if you can figure it out, fine, stop me, but... yeah, why don't you just why is it always 5 minutes or like a minute, or why don't these things just go off immediately? I don't understand.
But like maybe bombs don't go off immediately.
Whoa, you just blew my mind.
That's another tattoo for you.
Maybe bombs don't go off immediately.
Yeah, perfect. Back at the bomb site, the male Greta, Rick, suggests they take the bomb and fly it as far from LA as possible, Iron Man and Avengers style.
Yeah.
Chuck insists they won't be able to get it far enough away to avoid casualties, and he can disarm it. Casey agrees to let Chuck try despite Rick's protests. And thus, the team is back together again, Chuck, Sarah, and Casey, gathered around the bomb. Apparently, it's made from pieces of a lot of different bombs, so it's pretty tricky, but Chuck uses all those bomb defusing courses he took at Stanford to figure out how to crack it. Somehow he knows that a certain kind of detonator turns off in salt water. Unfortunately, they're not close enough to the ocean. And this is where I just have a little... LAX is actually next to the ocean.
Right.
It is, I looked it up, and if they went, like, through normal driving routes, it is a 6-minute drive, so the bomb is, like, around, like, 3 minutes at this point, so they wouldn't have time, but depending on where on the runway they are, and maybe if they have, like, a golf cart or something, they could probably get there and just, like, toss it in there.
Or, like, a helicopter or something.
Yeah. I don't know what they have at their disposal, but Chuck is like, we don't have time to get to the ocean. I think they could probably if they put their minds to it. But what does Chuck have? Oh, a salty, salty juice box. He squirts that shit on the detonator and it turns right off. Chuck is all smug with the Gretas, who are appropriately disappointed in themselves. Back in Castle, Team Bartowski, the Gretas, and Bentley meet with Beckman. Bentley insists that only one team is needed for this mission, and Beckman agrees. She says Bentley should never have done an intersect field trial without consulting Chuck, so now he will be overseeing any future missions of this type. And the team that will continue to exist? Well, it's Chuck, Sarah, and Casey, of course. The A-Team.
A-plus team.
That's true. The Gretas get their intersects removed, and they're super relieved about it. Rick says he doesn't know how Chuck does it all the time. They head back to their normal lives of being spies, I guess. Once they're gone, Bentley comes out to talk to Casey. She says she hasn't dismissed him from his mission. Apparently, she wants to really dig into Steven's computer and figure out how to make more and better intersect elected agents. She says they need someone who thinks like a Bartowski. Meanwhile, Chuck and Sarah are about to play Final Fantasy II when they get a new mission for Beckman. Sarah is excited that they're the A-team again. Chuck is excited also, but he kind of really wants to play Final Fantasy, which, my boyfriend is playing that, and I see that. Sarah says that she wants to, join the Mile High Club instead of bringing Final Fantasy II with them. And I turned to Seth at this point and I asked what he'd do in this situation, and he said he would probably play Final Fantasy. So that was nice. It's nice to know where you stand. When Devin returns from work later, Ellie is not talkative. She's sad. Devin apologizes about the computer and Ellie says it's her fault. She's sad about being a stay-at-home mom, which, I am sure that there is a lot of emotion going on, especially with COVID. I can relate to, having a life where I got to leave my house and do work outside of my house and all of those things, and now I'm at home and how that, sucks. But I didn't think, Ellie had, left her job forever. She's acting like she's permanently a stay-at-home mom, and that was not my impression. I didn't really even know that she was off of work. It makes sense. She's on maternity leave, but I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot going on in a new mom's head, but I was just surprised that she went, that it went this far of, her saying, my life has no meaning anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought she was also on maternity leave, but I guess I don't really remember because I don't know. We're ostensibly after Valentine's Day at this point, and when was the baby born? After Thanksgiving, I think. I don't remember. So maybe she would still be on it. It's hard to tell because obviously Sarah Lancaster did not actually give birth for this role. Mm-hmm. So she does not look like a woman who recently had a baby. Mm-hmm. She seems like she's her normal, her body has not changed in any significant way. So I'm did she even have a baby? Did she have a baby such a long time ago that she's gone back to exercising her body? I have no idea. I wasn't really clear.
Unclear.
I would assume that she would go back to work at some point, but...
Yeah. Well, we all know that the American maternity leave policies are not great. So I'm surprised that she is off at all. But,
If only she had, say, a recently discovered mom who, she recently connected with, who would be able to stay at home and watch the baby while she went to work, if that's what she wanted to do. But once again, Mary is...
nowhere to be found.
Absolutely nowhere to be found.
But there's kind of a sweet moment where Devin tells Ellie she's not just anything, which I really like. He's like, she's not just a mom. Then he goes on to say that she's Mrs. Awesome, which is also sort of sweet, but sort of not. I feel like she's, if anything, she's more of a Ms. Awesome. You know what I'm saying?
What?
She's a Ms. Awesome, not a Mrs. Awesome.
I don't know exactly what the rules are with Ms.
A Miss Awesome?
Well, I know what Miss is. She wouldn't be married to him. She was
Mademoiselle Awesome.
What? Stop! You're ruining my mind. I'm so confused.
So when Casey finally makes it back to his apartment, Morgan is just waking up from having been tranked by Sarah. He apologizes to Casey for betraying his trust, ultimately even turning in a pair of plastic airplane wings that he just had on him, I guess. Morgan says he can't lie to Chuck anymore, but Casey says Morgan won't have to. They're all back on the same team. Morgan hugs Casey and asks for his wings back. We end with Ellie getting a knock on the door. She opens it, and it's none other than Jane Bentley bringing her Steven's laptop. She says that the Bymore delivered it to her by mistake, and she found Ellie's address in the bag, which Ellie doesn't question at all. She's just super hyped. Later, Devin comes home, and Ellie comments, "You're home early," and Devin points out that it's night. A whole day has passed, and he's done a whole shift of doctoring, and Ellie is surprised because she has just been sitting working on the computer that whole time. And that's where we end.
I can certainly relate to that, playing Roller Coaster Tycoon. No, I can't play Final Fantasy. I can play Roller Coaster Tycoon, though, for hours upon end, and I get so lost in my management responsibilities.
What's it called? A fugue state?
I think she just, is experiencing, flow, where she's just
that's what I meant, the flow.
Yeah.
I knew it started with an F.
Flow.
I learned about it when I was a psychology major at Emerson College.
Right, I did not learn about it in psychology class, but I did learn about it at Emerson. Which Erin will eventually become the president of someday.
Yes, of course. Mm-hmm.
And may or may not run the college into the ground, but that remains to be seen. So next up, we have Chuck, Marry, Kill, where we pick one part of this episode that we'd like to marry, and one part of this episode that we'd like to kill. Maybe we'd like to drop a bomb on it. Erin, what would you like to marry this week?
So what got a little chuckle out of me was Jeff writing CIA on a piece of paper. I thought the ESP plotline was absurd, but I thought that was genuinely funny. It always kind of gets me when, like, the joke is like, oh, of course, like, he doesn't actually have ESP, and then they just end with, like, but does he? Like, I don't know. I think that's clever. I like, I have a vague memory of later episodes, either in this season or the next season, of Jeff and Lester, like, stumbling onto the CIA base in their basement, and that is something that I find funny and that I think works. So I like this first minor humorous entry into that, and I would love to marry that. Not Jeff, though. To be clear, I do not want to marry Jeff.
So you want to marry Jeff? I didn't listen to that whole part, but I tuned in at the end.
Cannot emphasize that enough. I do not
Jeff.
Want to marry Jeff.
You would like to be Mrs. Jeff Barnes.
Yep, that's Erin Barnes, Emerson College president.
I would like to marry. I kind of appreciated how by having Chuck and Sarah get demoted, we kind of got to see a little bit of their old selves again. Like, you know, I'm glad that the characters have changed and evolved and progressed, but it was kind of fun to see Chuck be goofy again. And save the day with a really kind of silly idea. And it was fun getting to see Sarah kind of be the blindly ambitious, you know, go-getter spy that wasn't putting up with any shit. So I feel like Chuck's been really serious as of late, now that he's a little bit more mature, has been taking on leadership roles. So it was good to see him kind of be goofy again. Obviously, like the throwback to the pilot episode with the bomb disposal in a peculiar way. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I liked it too.
So what didn't you like?
I was waiting for you to say something instead of just leaping into it, but I'm gonna kill Sarah's attitude towards dogs. Sarah was really rude about Yana. When she saw Yana, she was like, ew. And then every time they talked about, like, feeding her or taking her on walks, she was like, this is gross. This is beneath us. Like, come on, it's a cute dog, Sarah. You don't have to be such a bitch about it. I want to be clear that I was using bitch as wordplay because it means female dog, much like Yana is. I do not believe in calling women bitches for being rude or even when they are rude towards dogs.
Some people just don't like dogs. I can see that Sarah wouldn't like dogs.
I guess Sarah would not star alongside John Cusack in the film Must Love Dogs. She would star in the sequel, Must Hate Dogs.
I just got out of a really long relationship with someone who loved dogs. I associate dogs with this, what I now view as a painful point in my life. So I really want someone who's anti-dog as much as possible. If that's you.
I think we could make bank on this. Let's talk after this call.
A psychologically traumatized man gets out of a long-term relationship with someone who has a lot of dogs and now is looking for someone who doesn't have any dogs.
Yes, exactly.
Sounds good.
Sounds like a rom-com to me.
Yeah. So I guess I would like to kill, well, I suppose it's all water under the bridge since they, you know, prevented a nuclear genocide, but it feels a little strange to me that Chuck and Sarah didn't even get a slap on the wrist for breaking into the cool kids corner. I'm surprised that Beckman wasn't pissed about that at all, or that Bentley wasn't even that concerned about it. Like, when they got in there, they broke in using a fake copy of Casey's handprint. But once they were in there, it was like everyone was just accepting and assumed they were going to get inside eventually. Yeah. They were like, oh, you're here. Okay, good. Like, if this is like really beyond their clearance and their payroll, then shouldn't you be upset that they broke into here instead of being like, okay, we're glad that you guys finally got in here? Because if you didn't mind them coming in the first place, why'd you lock them out? You might as well have just left the door open. So that seemed like an oversight to me.
That is a good point.
Sometimes when over the course of hosting the show, it's hard to think of smooth transitions. That brings me to my next point, the scooter scale, where we rank or rate this episode using a series of 0 to 5 corn dogs. Erin, how many corn dogs would you like to give this episode?
So I'm going to give this episode a 3. I will say, as a my negative feelings on it are not so much negative. I thought it was a decent episode, but I would say that despite the fact that we just spent around an hour talking about it, I can't remember huge chunks of it. It was a decent episode, not particularly memorable. I did like you said, Chuck and Sarah coming back into their like original like goofiness. I did like the idea, like I liked the reappearance of some of the Gretas. I liked the idea of like Bentley trying to make her own intersect project and what that is going to mean in the future for either her character or the CIA or Chuck's role in the CIA. I really like what's going on with Ellie. I think it's interesting, and she has never been a part of Chuck's spy life, and she is kind of the only character on the show other than like the B team characters like Jeff and Lester, who has not been ever like related to Chuck's like role as the intersect or the spy life. So I think like bringing her into that is a good move. Yeah, so I liked it fine. It just is not one that's gonna stick out in my mind. So I would say it's pretty middle of the road. Three corn dogs, and that's what I think. What about you?
I would concur. I also give this episode 3 corn dogs.
Wow!
I feel like sometimes you can kind of sniff out when an episode of Chuck is not going to really pack any kind of emotional weight at all. I'm glad that we got some answers about what's been going on inside the cool kids corner this whole time. And I'm glad that Team Bartowski prevailed in the end, but it didn't really feel that exciting. I did enjoy Chuck and Casey's heart-to-heart at the airport. I thought this episode had a few good bits, like Casey touching the Ronald Reagan picture and them getting the full handprint off of it, and Ellie's isolation, and Jeff's ESP might, potentially being real. So I felt like those things were like pretty okay, but overall I feel like it was a pretty forgettable episode. I feel like the dog stuff kind of fell flat and was underdeveloped, because I thought like, oh, we're going to see Chuck and Sarah having to take care of this dog for the rest of the episode, but then that doesn't really happen, and the dog just kind of fades into the background. I really did not remember seeing this episode before, but I still felt like it was kind of predictable. I didn't really feel that emotionally invested or surprised by anything at any point. I was just kind of like, all right, this is fine.
This is happening.
Yeah. So is a definition of a middle of the road episode here for us at Go Chuck Yourself. Now we have the lesson of the week. Erin, what did you learn this week?
I learned that apple juice has a really high sodium content.
I also learned that. I elaborated a little bit more on it. I added that is just one of the many reasons that I don't really care for apple juice. I think all of the popularity and accolades and love that apple juice gets, I think it's misplaced.
Okay.
I think it's kind of gross. There, I said it.
Do you like a cider or just no apple juice?
Yes,
okay,
I like cider.
You do like cider.
I like cider. I like apple pie. I like eating raw apples. Apple juice, I don't know what they do with it. It just doesn't, I don't like it. I don't know if I had maybe had too much of it as a child, and now it just kind of grosses me out.
It does kind of look like urine, so that is kind of a problem.
It also looks like urine.
I don't really, honestly, I feel like apple juice always kind of gave me a headache. I didn't really, I never really reach for it every time that I've, because sometimes you're at, a convenience store, like a Dunkin' Donuts or something, and they have, the juice on display, and I feel like there's been a lot of times where I've been like, apple juice, I never drink that, and then I'm never really satisfied with it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's so sugary, it just makes you thirsty. It doesn't actually quench any kind of thirst.
So I agree with you. And now that I know, I'm sure it varies between brands and types of pressings and everything. But now that I know how much salt it's got in it, never
thank
again.
You. No,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Do you remember Juicy Juice?
Of course.
Okay, just wanted to make
sure. I was a child. I watched Arthur. You think I didn't see those the commercials for Juicy Juice?
Juicy Juice. It's weird that there was just a thing named Juicy Juice.
Are Juicy Juice still around?
You remember when it was in the cans? We would always get the cans of it. Not single serving cans, but big cans.
Oh, the concentrate?
I guess so.
Oh, where you'd have to
you had to puncture it.
Oh, that might not be concentrate then.
Let's Juicy Juice. There's a rapper called Juicy Juice. That's cool.
Juicy Fruit.
Juicy Juice. It's I don't know. It's just a can. You would have to get a can opener. It's 100% juice. No sugar added. It's from Libby's? But this one's from Nestle. Oh my god.
You mean Nestle?
Yeah, I meant Nestle.
Nestle? This one's from Nestle. Well, I can say with 100% confidence that this is the most boring way to close out an episode of Go Check Yourself, talking about juice.
Talking about Juicy Juice. I'm sure everybody's so excited we're talking about Juicy Juice. Finally, we're blowing the lid off of Juicy Juice.
When are they going to talk about Juicy Juice? It's been, I think, almost 90 episodes. When are they going to talk about Juicy Juice? I always like telling Erin how many episodes we've done because it surprises her every time and she gets alarmed.
Did I look alarmed when you said that?
Yeah, that was very much not like oh yeah. It's like oh
no.
Very much like your reaction.
Once again, I thought I would be rid of you by this point.
I know. I thought that would be a celebratory thing, 10 years, but apparently it's a sad thing. So weird choice for you to start a podcast with me if that's how you felt, but specifically a podcast that is based. It's like, well, we're gonna have to do all of these episodes. We have to do at least like 95 episodes or 100 episodes, however many there are of Chuck, but
we're like really coming close. How many more do we have of season 4?
Like 6 or
oh god,
5 or 6.
So we have a ton. Don't even worry about it. We're fine.
I mean, we don't really have a ton necessarily, but it's we've done a lot. We've done this a lot of times is what I'm trying to say. We have. So that means that I've said this quite a few times myself. My name is Chris Gillespie, reminding you that food is sexy.
And my name is Erin, letting you know that anything is possible.
Like
even becoming the president of your former college at the age of 27 with no prior experience.
That's right, and that's the
run
attitude.
It into the ground.
Woo! I think they've been doing too well for too long. I think they've just been printing money hand over fist.
$0 tuition.
That would be awesome. You could sell out the like the Los Angeles Center. You could sell it. You could probably make a few bucks off of that. Like
that's true. Yeah, it's right in Hollywood.
Right. I'm sure the real estate's probably good. You could probably get rid of a lot of courses. You could get rid of a lot of the dorms. Like why not just turn it into a commuter school? Why the kids gotta live there?
Yeah, we could do that. We could I think we should get rid of the gym. Honestly, like the
Sure.
All of the sports, we don't need those.
No, these are all unnecessary costs that we don't need. Yeah, I think that will pretty much, that should do it. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. As always, a big thanks to the artist Hadakowa and freemusicarchive.org for providing us with our theme song, Warm Up. If you want to drop us a line, you can reach us at GoChuckYourselfPodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Go Chuck Yourself on your preferred podcast platform. New episodes come out every Monday morning and you do not want to miss a new episode. Thanks again. We'll see you next week. But bye.